Hi, Denver Startup Week. I'm Tammy Dorr, President and CEO of the Downtown Denver Partnership and co-founder of Denver Startup Week. Denver Startup Week is the largest free entrepreneurial event in the world, and it's only possible thanks to the support of our sponsors. We have nearly 40 sponsor companies who contribute to Denver Startup Week and make it possible. Let's show our love for these companies today and all week long. Thanks to our title sponsors, the Downtown Denver Partnership, JP Morgan Chase, Prologis, and Zero, and our track sponsors who help make the great content you're hearing today possible. Battery 621 and the Public Works, Capital One Cafe, Colorado Lending Source, Friday Health, Quizlet, Exactly, Zayo, and Zestful. Our headline event sponsors are bringing you inspiration from around the country. Thank you to Wix, Kenzen, MAPR Agency, Obsidian HR, Kickstart Fund, Promontory Mortgage, Molson Coors, and Comcast. And finally, thank you to our partner and member sponsors. They're all listed on the screen. Thank you for your support of Denver Startup Week. Now, let's get to it.
It's time for a whole new way to think about sales planning, execution, and optimization. To let go of old habits and embrace a data-driven mindset. Our revolutionary approach to sales performance management will get your sales unstuck and fundamentally transform your business to create lasting success. It's time to unleash your true sales power.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to day 5 of Denver Startup Week. I'm Ashley Cloud, People Track Chair and a member of the Denver Startup Week Organizing Committee. Thank you so much for attending our first virtual Denver Startup Week. What an amazing week it's been, and it's still not over. One of my very favorite things about startups is that we're constantly trying new things and learning every step of the way. And that's definitely what we've done this week with our first virtual Denver Startup Week. So thank you so much for going on this journey with us, for trying something new together, and for your graciousness, patience, and kindness as we worked through some technical kinks and learned a lot along the way this week. At Denver Startup Week, we strive to make all of our sessions a space where attendees can connect, learn, and grow, regardless of age, gender identity, gender expression, race, ability, sexual orientation, or the combination of any of those. We try to make sure there's something for everyone and that everyone sees themselves in Denver Startup Week. We appreciate our sponsors, especially our People Track sponsor, Exactly, our volunteers, our session organizers, and our community for making this week happen. Don't forget to use the tag #DenStartupWeek on social to keep connecting. Another session that's happening right after this one at 12 o'clock is a workshop that's Wiggle While You Work. Who doesn't need a little bit more joy in the workplace? So join that if you can afterwards. And thank you so much for joining this session. Founders with Pride, LGBTQ+, business owners changing the game. We have a stellar panel, and I know we all can't wait to hear from them. So with that said, thanks again for coming, and I'll pass it over to Jamila.
All right, good morning, everybody. First of all, I want to say a special thank you to Ashley and the wonderful Denver Startup Week team who has been gracious enough to select me to present this session today. Also want to give a special shout out to our sponsor, Exactly Corporation. Thank you to the panelists that are here today. I really do appreciate y'all stepping up and being here to share your story with the world, literally. And also thank you to everybody who is watching. You could be literally anywhere in the world right now, but you decide to be here with us for the next hour, so thank you. I'm going to start off this event with panel introductions. My first panelist is Joanne Castillo. Joanne Castillo is the owner of Infalible Fit based in the Bay Area, California, and is a 15-year Air Force veteran. Her mission is to use the power of fitness to help others find the same transformation she experienced on her own weight loss journey. She understands firsthand the struggles and challenges of losing weight. Her goal is that clients walk away with more body awareness, better form and technique, and positive changes in their values and beliefs. One step, one rep, and one session at a time. Thank you, Joanne. Our next panelist is Kacy. Nick Kacy is a queer, trans, masculine, gender, non-binary, Asian immigrant who is now an LA-based genderqueer entrepreneur, designer, event producer who refuses to be confined by societal boundaries or limited by gender binary. Passionate about visibility and equity, Nick created Equality Fashion Week in 2018, the first, not the second, but the first fashion week, the first queer fashion week in LA, featuring over 150 LGBTQ, mostly people of color. As well, Nick has founded the luxury gender-free footwear and accessory brand called Nick Kacy Footwear in 2014. Welcome, Nick. Our third panelist is Christina Clark. Christina dedicates her life to helping LGBTQ-owned companies, multicultural business owners, and women-owned businesses manifest their dreams. As a private business accountant, federal tax accountant, she is the owner of Clark & Company Business Administration Company. Christina provides financial accounting for small businesses in the food product industry, rental property industry, furniture industry, and technology industry. Sounds like a busy woman. She implements tax solutions specialized for business owners' life that include small business and corporate federal, state, and city tax services in all cities and states in the US. She also performs entity incorporations and formations for new business owners and entrepreneurs. She is Moroccan and Ethiopian, and her business is based out of New York with additional offices located in the Midwest. Welcome and thank you, Christina. Our next panelist, last but not least, is here in the studio live with me, is Sharon Thompson. Sharon Thompson is the CEO of Healthy Denver, Inc., a nonprofit organization, and the owner of Mocha Enterprises. The founder of Healthy Memphis Festival, Healthy Denver Festival, and Healthy Festivals USA. Sharon is a professional health advocate whose mission is to provide the quality of health in Black and underserved communities. With over 20 years in the health and wellness industry and a background in logistics, international business, sociology, and with a concentration in gerontology, Sharon focuses on promoting optimum health, mind, body, and spirit. So everybody, let's give a round of applause for our wonderful panelists that we have here today. Or you can do the jazz hands if you like. All right, just a little important facts that I want to say before we get started with the panel discussions. This is going to be a live conversation between me and the panelists, and we were going to save the last 15 minutes of our session for Q&A. So everybody out there in Zoom land, if you do have a question or comment for myself or one of the panelists, feel free to put in the chat box. I have David, my project manager, he's controlling the chat. So write your questions down, and we will have your questions towards the end, about the last 15 minutes. All right, let's get to it. Okay, so this first question is a question that I would like to ask, because I ask this question to every successful person, every person that I meet when I find out what they do. I always ask them the question of why. So I would like to hear from all of the panelists, what is your why? Like, what is your purpose? What drives you in doing what you do? Okay, go ahead, Joanne.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. Yeah, so my why came from my own personal weight loss transformation, and I lost 50 pounds. Up until that time throughout my life, I battled with my weight. I yo-yo dieted a lot. And with that transformation, it wasn't the fitness part of it that I really took from. It was how it strengthened me mentally and emotionally. To love myself more, accept who I am, love who I am, my self-esteem. And the transformation opened the doors. It was the gateway of me to build a stronger and healthier mindset. And it gave me the confidence to start peeling away those layers of what I went through in my past and to heal. And now my mission is to help people the way fitness helped me and to be an example for our community.
All right, cool. Thank you, Joe.
I can go next. I, on a similar journey, wanted to find a way to help similar to people like me who had a struggle to find shoes, and shoes that not only fit my feet but my gender identity and how I wanted to express myself authentically. So I went on this mission of finding out why the shoe industry had not or actually instead of not, but they have always made shoes either as men's shoes or women's shoes. And it was very, very specific to how they utilize culture and fashion to basically kind of brainwash us into thinking like women need to have small, petite feet and men need to have strong, big feet, And so being asked, of the industry, I asked them why they didn't just make shoes for everyone. I was told with a resounding, we know there's a niche, but it's not worth it. And that made me realize that there were people out there who think that me and my community are not worth it to them. And I was going to set on this course to prove them wrong. So that's how I started everything. And then that led into the Equality Fashion Week, which was taking that step further to build a literal platform so that, trans, queer, POC, non-binary people can have a literal platform to be visible and authentic and proud.
What you do, and I am looking forward to going to the next fashion show in LA. So keep me posted on those dates.
Definitely.
All right, Christina, let's tell us your why.
So my purpose is to help multicultural business owners and women-owned businesses and LGBTQ-owned companies and professionals manifest their dreams. So essentially, they can build their legacies in business and in life. And I essentially help other people materialize their purpose in a way that is self-serving to them and their village and or community, and match up with purpose-driven business owners who share a vision for transformation in their own personal life and also in the larger global context of life. And, historically, people within these communities have not been treated with the utmost respect that they deserve in the business world. So my company essentially honors them as the VIPs that they are. We go above and beyond to do anything that we can to make their professional client experience excellent and give them the respect that they've always deserved.
And thank you for what you do, Christina. I appreciate you sharing your why. And Sharon, tell me or tell the world your why for why you are in business. Thank you.
I believe my why really comes out of love and human compassion. I grew up in a big family, and my mother was the person that was always helping take care of everybody in the family. So I grew up that way, and I experienced a lot of death early on as a kid, starting at around the age of 12. So I've lost quite a few family members. I didn't realize until I was in college studying sociology that it wasn't an isolated incident, that African Americans and Hispanics have higher incidences of high blood pressure, diabetes, and high cholesterol because of their diet and lack of exercise. So I'd go back to visit Memphis, and every year I went back, I'd end up going to a funeral. And after the 5th year, it was 2 funerals. So I started thinking, something's going on here. Somebody needs to do something. So I came up with a grand idea of a festival, something to celebrate health and wellness, and dedicated myself to going back every year to reiterate the importance of health and wellness in my community, because you go back home to visit your people, not to bury them. So that was really impactful for me.
All right, thank you, Sharon. Okay, so the next question, I'm going to get a little personal, but not too deep. So as we all know, as people of color, the struggle is real for us in life, and in business, it's no different. It seems like we have to struggle like 3-4 times as hard just to build a business, get people to support our business. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have this panel, is so we can have people like me and you, showing the world like, hey, this is what we're doing. We are people of color, and we're members of the LGBT community, and we are growing businesses. We're changing the world. We're helping people You're making the world a better place. So the question is, what challenges have you had to overcome in business to get where you are today? And I'll repeat, what challenges have you had to overcome in business to get to where you are today? And this is in no particular order. If you feel like answering and sharing your insight, feel free to do so.
I can share. So I believe that, going back to the primary years when I first started my business, the largest struggle or the largest challenge that I had to overcome, and I think it's a perpetual, challenge as you grow your business, is number one, client acquisition, especially if you're in the services industry like myself. So in the beginning, I had 0 clients. I had no idea how to acquire clients. So I just tried many marketing and promotion strategies until I started to make and gain traction and also gain clients. And then the second thing was I had to figure out how to really evaluate my return on investment from the marketing and advertising methods, because at the time, that was the largest variable expense year to year in my business until I started using the best performing methods and avenues. So I think essentially I had to overcome the mindset of thinking if I spent more money on marketing, I would get more clients. But this was not really the case. This was not true in my case for my business. So I had to learn through trial and error and learn what marketing methods work best and reuse those methods. And then, essentially, I think another more important obstacle that people in my life had to overcome from me being a new business owner back then was that I was reinventing myself, right? And so this was a large hurdle for my family and friends and my professional network to let go of the perception of who I should have been in their eyes or who I used to be professionally. And then, I think last but not least would be probably the growing pains of firing clients who just don't match, the business values that my business possess,
All right, thank you, Christina. I can relate to some of what you said. Does anybody else want to share their challenges that they experienced so far in business?
I can go. I wanted to share one part about, not only being Asian, but being queer and trans. There were a lot of obstacles in terms of going into a shoe industry that's very predominantly, especially since I went to Europe, that it was predominantly very cis white old men. And it's very generational. It's an industry that's very generational. It's passed from generations to generations. And so there was one time I walked into a factory and it went silent when I walked in. And then, as I was walking throughout and reviewing the factory and all the machines and all the people, I noticed people were whispering back and forth, and I didn't understand why. And then I also noticed that, my agent who was there to translate for me, like they basically just kept talking over me. And I had to really find my voice and confront him afterwards because I didn't want to embarrass him. So I asked him, first I asked him, please translate everything. That's why you're there, and, if you show me respect, then the owner of the factory will show me respect, right? And secondly is like, why were people whispering, and he said that they were trying to figure out if you were a boy or a girl, and things like that. Like, it just felt like everywhere I went, I was faced with immediate assumptions and like obstacles before I could even put the ask of why I was even there. And then once I started to be able to find my voice and really like have to find myself, my confidence to understand that even though this is a new industry for me, I had to, really explain to them like, hey, like I'm the client here. I have an idea, and even if you don't agree with my idea, I'm paying you to fulfill it, you know? So I had to be very selective about who I worked with and making sure that the people I work with not only wanted to work with me because of a product, but because they believe in what I was doing.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate that. And one of the key words that you mentioned was respect. You know, in my mind, I think in this world, if we treat people with respect, the world will be a lot nicer place, a lot of opportunities. People will be treated decently like humans versus what we've seen recently. All right, so the next question I have is, let me see. All right, as a member of the LGBT community and a person of color, do you feel your representation matters in your business industry? And why do you think it matters? And I'll repeat. As a member of the LGBTQ community and person of color, do you feel your representation matters in business, and why?
So to segue into this question, what I was talking about is exactly why it's so important, right? Like for me to be able to be confident and proud enough to be authentically who I am and not let the industry and the people I have to work with dictate how I was going to present myself to make them feel comfortable. I use this opportunity to educate them and to represent people in my community so that hopefully the next person that goes, they're not going to be faced with the same obstacles.
Thank you, Nick.
Yeah, I definitely
Anybody else like to chime in?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Nick. I feel like the representation, my representation matters the most specifically to my clients. Not necessarily to the industry, because as everyone knows or should know, that the accounting industry is very hetero male, Caucasian dominant. And, you know, I think representation matters to the generation after me, the kids who look like me, identify me, and share a similar underdog experience, who grew up in neighborhoods that were either typecasted as, oh, you would not make anything of your life because you're from a certain neighborhood or you're raised in a certain city. But I definitely think that representation matters most to children or the generation after me and my clients as well.
Thank you, Christina. What about you, Joe? What do you think? Do you think you're being you, who you are, representing the fitness industry? Do you think it's important, and do you think it matters to people, other people that are with the outside of our community and inside of our community?
Yes, I do. And I agree with Nick and Christina. It's the same thing as my representation is important because to show others that you can still be yourself, be who you are, and be your most authentic self and still thrive and succeed, no matter how much you've been discriminated against or no matter what anybody says. You know, you can still live out your passion and be genuine. And it is important for those that are going to come after us, or maybe anyone that's trying to think of going into business or into any of the industries that we're in, that we can spark that motivation for them, be that example for them.
All right, Sharon, I'm not going to leave you out, so let's hear from you.
I absolutely agree. I consider myself a triple threat. I'm African American or Black. I'm gay, and I'm a female. So society dictates to us who's valid. And I think it's even more important as to not be marginalized as a queer person of color, because we aren't represented. And it's important for people like us to make sure that we are. So it's even more important because if we don't, we'll be marginalized on so many different levels. Like what you're experiencing, Nick, you shouldn't have to go through that. We should accept each other as we are and treat everybody, like you said, Jamila, equally. And as long as we respect each other, society as a whole would be better.
Yes, I agree. And that's the reason why I started Push Forward. Not to plug myself, but that's the reason why I started Push Forward Development, is because I know as myself growing up, it was being in certain environments, some certain spaces. When I would go to events, leadership, personal development, I felt like I had to conform and I couldn't be myself. And it was just weird. So I was like, I want to create a space for people who identify like me and women who would love to learn about leadership, develop ourselves in a safe and supportive environment. So that's my why.
You know, it's even more interesting, especially with what's going on today. There's levels of discrimination. It doesn't just come from the masses or the white male dominant population. We get it from the Black population. If you're gay and Black, you get treated the same way. And then I also see it in the gay community, how gay people treat Black people differently as well. So we not only get it from the majority, we get it from the minority as well. So it's really hard to make sure you're represented. It's an uphill battle. So yeah, I know exactly what you mean by that.
Yes.
I also want to chime in.
Perfect segue. I'm going to steal that from you, Nick. Perfect segue into my next question.
Wait, hold on.
Speaking of communities, we are all a part of some community, whether it's family or LGBTQ plus community or ethnic background. We come from different communities. So has any person or group played a significant role in your business journey? For example, a mentor, a friend, or someone within the LGBT community or outside of our community? Share that with us right now, if you like.
I can start with that. It's like Maya Angelou says, when you learn, you teach, and when you have, you give. And that I've tried to take that back to Memphis and bring that here as well. I've had a lot of allies, especially white allies, that have helped. And that's, I think, bridging the gap, I think really makes a big difference. Nate Ish with Kite and Darts really been a big advocate for us. Deb Pollock, she's not with the center anymore, but we work with the center here. We've worked with Leslie Herod. We work with you. We try to work in the community with other Feeding Denver's Hungry. We try to work with people in the community that are really making a difference and move that needle. But those guys have been really good allies for us.
All right, would anybody else like to share a person or let's hear from Nick.
Before I share that part, I just wanted to touch the last question really quick. There was, the back and forth, there was something that I really wanted to share, which was also really important for me is that we have to, for those of us who feel comfortable and safe to represent, we have to do it because there are so many who aren't safe and who aren't able to be represented. So as we pave the way for that, we create more safe spaces for those who normally wouldn't be safe to represent. And in terms of, my journey has allowed me to meet so many people who shared a common experience of, like me, not being able to be our authentic selves, literally walking our own way, right? And that's my tagline, is walk your way. So through this, I got to meet so many people who were my clients, but became my friends and lifelong friends now, where it's really life-changing for me because I might have never met them otherwise. And these are people that feel like family to me, So I feel like the greatest thing wasn't that I started this company. The greatest thing from this journey is that my world has opened so much to all of these amazing people.
Thank you, Nick. I really do appreciate that addition to the last question. And it is something amazing about walking through life as yourself. And I know a lot of people aren't feeling at a point where they are safe, but when you do get to that point, you break free, it's something amazing. It's like your whole world changes. I know for me, my whole world changes. The way I value myself, the way I carry myself through this world now is just totally different. You can ask old friends or family members about that offline. All right, would anybody else like to share any particular person or group that was instrumental into becoming who you are today in business?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. There's actually been a lot of people that has helped me throughout my journey, from networking to my clients, that have really helped me in my business journey. That's been very supportive. not only with my business, but of who I am. And I was one of those who I used to be scared of who I was, and I was shamed because of the way I was treated. And then being in the military, don't ask, don't tell policy was in, and I was in for most of my adult life, right? Yeah. So one person who was very I look up to is Nipsey Hussle. And one thing that he said in an interview that really hit me was he said, would you rather be at peace with the world, at war with yourself, or at peace with yourself, or at war with the world? And when he said that, it resonated deep with me. And from there, that's what helped me, with staying true to who I am, and what's helped me with my business journey and where I am today with my business.
All right, thank you, Joe. And I call Joe because me and Joe used to be stationed active duty in the military together. So we go way back since Korea days in Germany. So I know Joe as Joe, but on screen, I'll say Joanne moving forward, in case you wonder who that is. All right, would anybody else like to share somebody who was instrumental or significant in their journey?
I've got a couple other people I'd like to at least give a little shout out to. Liz Rutledge with Sustainable 3. We did a mask campaign and gave out over 300 masks to 6 different states. And her 14-year-old daughter, Sydney, was the one that started hand making the mask for everybody. And so I wanted to give a shout out to Liz and Sydney Rutledge for that. And Diana Thompson, who is the author of Heroes, Leaders, and Champions. She's just been dynamic. She's been a great mentor. She's helped direct me. She's been really funny. She's the one that said we should do the mask campaign. She said, I went to 2 stores and there were 2 Black people that didn't have masks on. She goes, you need to do something. So I was like, it's really funny having a white person tell me that we need to do something, but she was right on point. We started the mask campaign and we're able to help so many people, but that's instrumental is in having people that support you and help you in what you do. So I just wanted to make sure I didn't leave those guys out.
All right, Christina, let's hear what you have to say next.
So the groups of people who have made a positive impact along my journey are those who just had faith in me and those who have showed me love through conversations and kind acts, and those who've allowed themselves to stand shoulder to shoulder with me through the darkest moments in their business journey and remembered when I showed up in the dark tunnel, reaching out to them with a helping hand, which was like a hand of insight, a hand of endurance, delivery, a hand of getting things done for them, the hand of a listener, the hand of reliability, and most important, the hand of accountability. And many of these magnificent people are queer, LGBTQ+. These amazing people are multicultural, and these magical people are women. And these people are my clients. These people are ones who refer me business. They're the ones that are okay with saying my name and giving my number to those who need it the most. They're the ones who know I made a difference in their life and continue to make a difference in their lives today. And they're the ones who are okay with getting to know my values and that my authentic self is the very prerequisite to discover the door that I can help them unlock, which is like the door that represents the door in their tax life, or the door in their business financial life, or the door in their new business owner journey. But I give all those roses to these people. I give all the roses to those who've made this journey possible for me. And I honor their spirit, their life, and their presence, as well as their feedback.
Wow, thank you, Christina. I really do appreciate that. And Sharon, you got next.
I've got one more shout out. I got to make sure that I thank our COO, Rebecca Gibbs. She's been really instrumental in our community activism and really going into the community and making a difference and an impact and making a connection with a lot of the people out there that need help. So I want to make sure that she has recognition for all of her hard work and her dedication and enthusiasm.
All right. Anybody else, Sharon?
I think that's it.
All right. Cool. And little known secrets. I have personal stories about all the panelists today. I brought them here for a reason. I've met some of these people the last 10 years, some of these people within the last year. So I have a personal story. If you would like to hear that more, you can hit me up offline. Okay, so let's transition over to you being a business owner, and you know what it's like to come from a minority population. So tell us, how do you make your company, and now Nick, I know you've told us before, but if you want to share again, you're more than happy to do so. How do you make your company more inclusive to people who identify in different ways? Now repeat, how do you make your company more inclusive to people who identify in different ways?
Well, for
Take it
me,
away.
um, for me, I have, when I first started designing shoes, and certainly it was not in my background to do so. So I went from a consumer perspective of like, what are all the shoes I've always wanted to wear but could never find in my size. So I started, my first collection was more masculine of center, because that's how I identify. And in doing so, I realized that I would be a hypocrite if I only design all the things I want to wear, right? Because I now have a lifetime of experience of not being included, right? And not being represented. So once I realized that, my second collection was gender neutral, because I wanted to really break this, gender binary and go beyond it and build and design footwear and accessories that, when you just look at it, you cannot say like, this is a man or a woman's or masculine or feminine. It's just a kind of a combination of this like gender nonconformity, which very represented how I identify now. And then finally, I also designed a high heel because I felt like, who's to say that high heels are only for women? All people should be able to wear whatever they feel comfortable in that moment. And I don't think it even has to go or be limited by how you identify in terms of gender. It's really about your expression and like, maybe today I want to wear a skirt. Maybe today I want to wear high heels. Maybe today I don't want to wear anything, like, I feel like that's the way I wanted to move through life. And I wanted to inspire other people to think that same way, because if, the way I look at it is like this, like if Joe and Jill are both wearing the same boots and paying the same price, getting the same high quality, durability, all of those things, maybe Joe will actually stop and think, well, why isn't Jill making the same amount of money I am? If we're spending the same. And that's kind of how I approach my business, is that I don't want to tell people what to think. I want to inspire them to think differently.
Cool. Thank you, Nick. Anybody else like to share?
I can add a little bit to that. We get asked all the time, who is our demographic? And we have the demographic for who will purchase our products or who's more likely to buy into Healthy Denvering. But for us, it's really easy because we treat everybody the same, because health affects everybody. So it makes it really easy for us to not be discriminatory towards anybody, because health affects everybody.
Yes, it does. Thank you. Christina and Christina and Joanne, would you like to contribute to that question as well?
I'm gonna add on to that. As far as like health and wellness, it's like for Ms. like personal training, it's personal. So you develop this personal relationship with your clients. It's not just all about fitness. So it's for me, like, I'm open to everyone. It's not that I judge you or anything. I'm gonna respect you the same way, no matter who you are or how you identify. I don't see that. I see your heart. I see what it is in your heart. So that's my 2 cents right there.
All right, Christina.
Yeah, similar to what Joanne said, is, my business serves and provides services to all people, in all spectrums of how they identify. But more quintessential is, I believe that the heart of my business, but builds rapport, friendships, collaborations with people of various identities. And that definitely, continues to foster the growth of inclusivity amongst various people from various walks of life.
All right, thank you. So I have one more question, and then we're going to transition over to David, who is controlling our Q&A. So the last question is, what advice do everyone have on people who are thinking about going into business or accomplishing any goal? Because I think a lot of times we can accomplish anything we want in life, whether it's a business, going to grad school, getting a new job, whatever that goal is, you need some advice. And so it can be applicable to everybody, regardless of what you're trying to accomplish. So what advice do you have for fellow community members and people in general?
I'll chime in. The advice I have is don't find yourself, create yourself. You hear a lot of people like, hey, I'm going to go soul searching, want to find who I am, but they never do. So once you stop trying to find yourself, you start creating who you are, you create your own identity, you're going to build your true authentic self. And building that person is what's going to go into your business. That's what your business is going to be. And that goes in line with branding too. With branding, you want to separate who you are. You want to show why you're special. You want to show why you're unique. What's unique about you, and staying true to yourself. That's going to go a long way. So don't find yourself, create yourself.
Wow, I like that. I might use that hashtag, don't find yourself, hashtag, create yourself. Anybody else?
I'll chime in on this.
I'm going to build on what Joanna said. I think that's really important, and stay dedicated and determined and believe in yourself no matter what. Surround yourself with positive people that are going to lift you up and encourage you and help direct you in the right direction. Don't listen to the negative naysayers, and never, ever, ever give up on yourself.
Can I go now? What do you call it? See, now I lost my train of thought. No, I would say that my number one advice that I always tell people who want to start, especially queer trans people who want to start businesses, is don't let anyone convince you not to do it. Because so many people, when I first started, was just like, you're crazy. Most businesses fail, or this is not how you do something, like this is not how you make a shoe. Like there was just so many, it just felt like nobody wanted me to succeed because they were afraid, or that they were stuck into their thinking. Like there's so many things that I think people are carrying around that's their baggage that they want to kind of project out. And I had to really be so strong, and luckily I am so self-aware and so strong within myself that I knew that this was my calling, and I had to do this because I was just tired of not being able to walk my way, and I'm so glad that I did, even though it's the hardest thing to do and it's a huge struggle constantly, but it's so fulfilling and rewarding because I know that I stayed true to who I was, and I continue to stay true to who I am. And I'm paving the way for other people to be able to do similar things.
Yeah, I have to agree with Nick. I definitely believe that you need to develop thick skin for the naysayers and those who doubt you. I also experienced tons of, rejection from friends and family, actually. But people are always strategizing your demise whenever you transform into a new, or you create yourself, whether it's in business or your identity. And you always just, have to be able to think twofold. You have to be able to think on defense and offense, so you can combat a lot of that. And then you need to build an appetite for listening to criticism and critical feedback from others, whether it's your advisors, your mentors, people who have been in the same industry for longer than you. And you have to let the fight be your friend. You can't be scared to fail and get back up and dust your shoulders off and fight. And if you fail again, you got to just keep on fighting through it. Because if it is your passion and if it is your purpose to do what you're doing, then the fight has to be your friend. And you need to essentially just be humble enough to ask for help when you actually need it, not just always ask for a helping hand, but just ask for help when you humbly need it, you know, and you need to be able to get comfortable with uncertainty, because business is an ebb and flow. It's like a river of uncertainties every day. You never know what you're going to experience. You never know what fire you have to put out for a client, a customer, a vendor, you know. And I would tell people, never compete against anyone except for yourself. Never compare yourself against anyone except for yourself. Outdo your last best, and always practice mastering the art of self, the art of hard work, and continue your schedule and your routine even when other people don't show up for you in business and or in life.
Wow. Thank you for all of the answers. I'm pretty sure everybody dropped some nuggets today. And I'm gonna drop a nugget real quick. So one thing that I typically tell people when I'm speaking or just having a conversation with people is be careful about what you say to yourself, because you are listening, and be careful about your thoughts. Your thoughts are powerful. They can make or break, they can create, they can diminish, they can do a lot. So those are my nuggets. David, we're gonna transition over to you in the Q&A. Give us what you got.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks, everyone who has started to ask some questions, either in the Q&A or in the chat. We're going to go ahead and start answering some of them right now. So we have a question right here. Can you share how you all personally build your confidence before entering situations you know you will be challenged?
Okay, I'll go first. So I have a daily ritual that I've been doing for the last 6 years since being in business. And that's a daily ritual of listening to authors' audio tapes, listening to their speeches, positive input from powerful voices that resonate with my spirit and soul, that can build my voice confidence when I'm in business meetings, build my character confidence, whether it's I'm walking into a conference room full of folks that don't even look like me or cannot relate to my experiences. But essentially, the audio of positive influencers and authors and writers have influenced me in a way where I've developed that same positive speech for myself. So whenever I hear victim language being spoken around me in my ears, I'm always able to combat that with something positive to remind that person, hey, you know, this is not the way to go. There is another way to see things. And ultimately, it's helped me change my mindset to become more confident all across life. Yeah.
Can I add a little bit to that? Sure. I think I agree with Christine. I think creating rituals and doing the work ahead of time prepares you for being there. For me, meditating and clearing my mind really helps, because once I meditate and clear my mind and set my intentions, things are a lot clearer. When I have a lot on my mind, things get confusing and it's harder to be centered. So I think that's really important, is to be centered and clear your mind and be focused and set your intentions.
I also want to say that I think for me, a common or a repeated word that I often speak about is that we are innately trained to overcome as people of color and as queers and as a trans person. Because from the day I was born, I've had to overcome. And so the ritual is almost like that is the ritual. Life is that ritual of constantly overcoming. So when, you know, I talked about the example of walking into a factory or, you know, being told constantly that, like, I don't know what I'm talking about. This is not how a shoe is made, yada, yada, yada. And I realized that that is just one other example of me. When I find my voice and find that confidence, it's not because I'm trying to, you know, break down the patriarchy, right? Like that's just me literally overcoming one, you know, yet another obstacle of having to be heard and having to be seen. And so I think that for me, building my confidence is literally just reminding myself every day when I wake up that today it's probably just going to be like any other day where there will be obstacles, because that is the life that I lead. And that now I almost look at it as like, that is my purpose. This is why I exist now. I finally found the reason why I was born. It is because it was so hard for a reason, right? It was so that I can lead this life of increasing our visibility, you know, living authentically and inspiring other people to do the same.
So to add on to what they say, I do the same. I have my routine and I have my rituals, which work really well. Another thing that I do, and if it's something I know I'm going to get into, is I write down, I journal, and I jot, why am I feeling a certain way? So if I'm not feeling confident, why am I fearing this, or why do I feel scared? And I try to connect with that and see what it is. And another thing that I do to help build confidence is I go ahead and I put myself in that situation. I go ahead and I put myself in that situation. You heard the thing of like coming off the cliff and you build the plane as you're falling down. So I put myself in that situation. I learn from it, and I keep going and going. I see what I did wrong, trial and error, and then I try to go in there with another approach. And as you keep doing that, you start to build the confidence and skin for whatever challenge it is that you're going to encounter.
All right, thank you. David, you got another question for us?
I do, yes. So some of the earlier question that you're talking about some of the really good people that have been an influence in your life, some mentors, some a community. So the question is, I feel like I'm in this alone. How do you find community? How do you find people?
First of all, you have, 5 of us here? You have 5 people right here you can tap into. If you want to connect with any of us, feel free to connect with me afterwards.
That's it. You ask. You ask.
Yeah, you ask, you approach, you develop, I guess, a sense of communication to whether it's approach an individual or join an organization that has like-minded souls and spirits as you. You know, yeah, that's essentially, yeah, asking, reaching out, leaning in. For me, early on, I think, it's easier for folks who are naturally social, but then for folks who are a little bit shy, it can be quite daunting. Like for me, I was always shy of speaking in front of audiences and public speaking for many years, but I was never shy one-on-one with interacting with people. But, the more you can communicate with like-minded people who can reassure you that you're in the right place in the right moment at the right time, I think that uneasiness will dissipate as you interact with more like-minded folks. Yeah.
I want to chime in, piggyback off of that, Christina, is that, for me, I started this journey by inviting my community to participate with me. So I started with a Kickstarter, and I literally started my first campaign by inviting people I knew, people, their friends, people I didn't know, to participate in the campaign. And we had this beautiful photo shoot. And everything about this journey has brought a lot of people into my life, and I'm constantly out networking, and I'm an introvert, so it's very hard, but I make it work. But I still feel alone a lot, because I think that for me, it's not always just about all of the people in my life, because I'm surrounded by so many people, but I think that it's important to be honest and transparent about the fact that I still feel very much in a silo, and I feel very alone in my journey sometimes, because I think for me, it's about not knowing if other people really truly understand, what I'm going through, or that what my purpose is, and why I'm doing this, even though I have a lot of supporters and I have all you guys, but then I think that what my point is, that it's okay to feel alone sometimes, because we are so unique and beautiful as ourselves, and there's no one else like us. But like Christina said, it is very important to reach out, and I'm learning now to be more honest about that. That sometimes it feels very lonely to fight for justice, to be inclusive, to do all of these things that are so needed, but not everybody is always on board with you. So.
All right, so we have about 5 minutes left. So David, can you give us one more question? Then we're going to transition out.
Sure. Yeah. One more question. I think it's great to end on a high note and to just let's celebrate what's happening. And so, what is next for your company?
Healthy Denver Inc. is doing a 12-month pledge to build equity in the community, particularly underserved BIPOC communities where it's needed the most. And we're asking other organizations to take the pledge. Right now, there's a lot of lip service around BLM. So we're asking our allies and partners to put your money where your mouth is. We're going to do a 12-month pledge to build equity in the community. Each month, for example, we're going to give CPR and first aid training to people in the minority community that might not normally be able to afford that. That will give them the tools to help themselves survive and tools they need. And each month we're going to do something that builds equity in the community. So that's what's next for Healthy Denver Inc.
I'll chime in. So what's next for me is I just recently rebranded to Infallible Fit, and mine is just to get my brand out there, and to also go out there more and speak to people and share my story, and hope I can spark that motivation in other people to start their business, and at the same time be their authentic self.
For me, my next step is, during this pandemic and all the political unrest, I felt inclined to kind of put my business on pause, because so many people were struggling, and there were things that I felt like were more important that I wanted to spend my time on. But now I'm getting back into my business again and doing a virtual equality fashion week to celebrate our community and to remind like everyone, like the throwback of like last year and the beauty behind it, because it's about unity. And I think that's more important now than ever. And then as far as my designs, starting to get creative again and designing a non-leather version of my holsters, because I think in this pandemic, it's been very convenient for me to be able to wear the holsters and have my hands free, and I have my hand sanitizer, hanging from it. So I want to make kind of like a waterproof, knife-proof version, so that, protesters, moms, like everybody can have something that, can be very utilitarian for them.
For me, it's, for me in my business, it's essentially to continue to help, multicultural, LGBTQ women, business owners and professionals manifest their dreams, and to continue to just, grow the business across, all 50 states. And have clients, and the majority of them with those representations in mind. And to also, like Joe said, get out into the community more and do public speaking to the younger generation, and to folks who are transforming or transitioning from the 9-to-5 life into the small business world, or the business world, quote unquote, to speak, and to impart some motivation into them that even though it's tough it's doable. And sometimes you have to do what's hard in life to make your life easy. Because if you do what's easy in life, your life will sometimes just be hard.
Wow, thank you for all the wonderful responses from all of our panelists. Let's give them a round of applause if you can, or jazz hands. So this concludes our Founders with Pride. And I just want to send a special shout out to, once again, Denver Startup Week, Exactly Corporation, all of our panelists, for being here, and you as well in the audience. Thank you for attending. I really do appreciate your time. If you would like to contact me, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, and or if you want to email me, you can. I will send you the slides. Thank you for your time. Everybody have a great weekend.